When I got into an Ivy League school, my stepbrother said, "You're just a diversity pick." At Christmas dinner, he told everyone I was lucky to be born in the right decade. I waited for my stepmom to say something. She just smiled and said, "He's just teasing." A month later, I was asked to speak at a national conference. I looked out into the crowd and there he was, in a cheap suit holding a Résumé. He tried to say hi after. I just looked at him and said, "You still think I'm a fluke?" I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's not a bad place. Nothing fancy, just regular people doing regular things. My dad worked for the water company. My mom taught 4th grade until she got sick. When she died, I was 10. I didn't talk much after that. Just went to school, came home, read books. That's all I had. 3 years later, my dad married Sandra. She worked in HR, always smiling like she was on a commercial. She had a son, Blake, 1 year older than me. We weren't close. We were never going to be. Blake had everything handed to him. If he broke something, Sandra would say, "Boys are wild." If I made a mistake, it was, "You need to take things more seriously." I was mixed, black mom, white dad. Blake was white. I could feel the difference every day in that house. I remember once I won a local essay contest and got a small award from the mayor's office. Sandra told me, "Well, they're trying to encourage all voices now, right?" I was 13. I didn't say anything. I never did. Blake coasted through high school. He played football, not very well, but it didn't matter. He threw house parties when Sandra and my dad were gone. He barely passed his classes, but everyone acted like he was doing great. I stayed in my room, studied, applied myself. I knew college was my ticket out. Junior year, I joined robotics club and math league. I got a summer internship at a local research firm. I applied to every scholarship I could find. I was up late every night writing essays, tweaking my Common App, emailing teachers for recommendation letters. Blake? He applied to 3 state schools, half-assed his applications, and got rejected from 2 of them. When I got my Columbia acceptance, I was in my dorm room at a college prep weekend program in Cleveland. Full ride. I sat down and cried. My roommate hugged me. I called my dad. He cried too. Sandra sounded polite but not excited. Blake? He didn't even pretend. "You know they just picked you to make their brochure look better," he said, not even looking up from his phone. "What? You're just a diversity pick. Don't act like you're smarter than everyone now." He said it like he was talking about the weather. Like it was fact. Like I should already know. I waited for someone to say something. My dad opened his mouth, then closed it. Sandra smiled like Blake had just told a harmless joke. "He's just teasing," she said. "You two need to learn to get along." I felt like I was going to be sick. That Christmas was the worst I can remember. Sandra had the fireplace on even though it was warm. Everything smelled like burned cinnamon. Blake had already been drinking when dinner started. He was slurring a little. When my dad mentioned Columbia, Blake rolled his eyes. "Let's all give thanks for people who were lucky enough to be born in the right decade," he said, raising his glass. I froze. My dad gave a nervous chuckle. Sandra smiled and said, "Blake, I waited. Waited for someone to defend me. No one did." I left that night. Told my dad I had a ride back to campus. I didn't. I took a Greyhound. That was the last holiday I ever spent in that house. 1 month later, I got invited to speak at a National Youth Innovation Conference in D.C. My professor had submitted my name. I had done a project on algorithm bias in school admissions. They wanted me to speak about fairness in education. I was the youngest keynote speaker they'd ever invited. The night before the speech, I didn't sleep. I paced the hotel hallway. I called my advisor. I went over the speech until my throat hurt. Then it was time. The conference center was huge. Hundreds of people. Recruiters. Executives. Cameras. I stepped onto the stage. My heart pounded. I looked out into the crowd. And I saw him. Blake. In a cheap suit, wrinkled shirt, holding a folder in his lap. I felt the blood drain from my face. I almost lost my place in the speech. He looked out of place. Greasy hair. Nervous eyes. He was there to job hunt. That much was obvious. And now he was stuck listening to the girl he used to laugh at. The girl he called a fluke. I went on with the speech. I talked about hard work. About being told you don't belong. About people who say your success isn't real. I didn't name him, but I didn't have to. After it ended, people clapped. Some stood. I smiled, but inside I was still shaking. Blake approached me after. He tried to smile. "Hey," he said. "Didn't know you'd be here." I stared at him. "You still think I'm a fluke?" He blinked. I walked away. He didn't follow. I didn't hear from Blake for months after the conference. I figured he got the message. Maybe he was too ashamed. Maybe he was too stubborn. Either way, I didn't care. I had better things to focus on. That summer, I interned at a tech startup in Brooklyn. It was fast-paced, demanding, and everything I had worked for. I was running on caffeine and ambition. I was finally somewhere that respected me for my ideas, not just my name or my face. But nothing ever stays quiet for long. One evening, I got a LinkedIn message. The profile picture was old, but the name was familiar. Blake M. I almost didn't open it. Hey, sorry to bother you. I think I messed up. Could really use some advice if you're willing. Hope NYC is treating you well. I stared at the screen. Read it twice. 3 times. He didn't apologize. Not really. Not for what he said, what he did, or how he made me feel. Just said he messed up. I left it on read. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my dad. I hadn't spoken to him much since the Christmas fallout. He sounded tired. Blake's having a rough time, he said. He's been out of work. Sandra's worried. Thought maybe you two could talk. I almost laughed. I hadn't forgotten how my dad stayed quiet while they mocked me at the dinner table. How he let Sandra smile her way through their cruelty. Dad, I said, he never respected me. He never even saw me. I know, he said. I didn't handle things right back then. That gave me pause. It was the first time he had ever admitted that. But it didn't fix things. I'm not going to help him find a job, I said. And I'm not going to pretend we're close. He made his bed. My dad sighed. I get it. Just thought I'd try. I hung up feeling heavy. Not guilty. Just burdened. Like some weight had shifted but not gone away. A month later, I was back at Columbia for my final year. One of my professors asked if I'd be willing to help mentor a few students from a nearby community college who were transferring in. I said yes. It was the kind of work I cared about. I showed up to the first session with coffee and notes, expecting eager faces. And there he was, Blake, sitting in the back of the room, avoiding my eyes. He had enrolled in the adult continuing education program, trying to shift into tech. He must have applied to the program not knowing I was part of it. At first, I didn't say anything. I did my job, led the sessions, helped everyone equally. He never said a word to me in front of the others. But one evening after the session, he waited until the others left. I didn't know you were part of this, he said. I figured, I said. He looked down. I've been trying to fix things. You can't fix what you don't own, I said flat. He swallowed. I know what I said to you. I know I was wrong. I was jealous. And I was stupid. I'm sorry. There it was. Years too late. And still not enough. I nodded. Not because I forgave him, but because I was done carrying it. You want to learn? I said. Then do the work. But don't look to me to clean up your mess. He nodded quickly. Like a kid caught cheating. Like he knew he had to listen this time. He showed up every week after that. Stayed quiet. Did the work. But I never let him close. Because some scars don't heal just because the person who made them decides to be better. Things stayed quiet for a while. Blake came to the sessions. He did his work. He kept his head down. I didn't go out of my way to speak to him, but I didn't ignore him either. I was professional. Cold, maybe, but fair. Then, one day, everything flipped again. It started with an email. A recruiter from a well-known education startup reached out to me, one I had been hoping to interview with after graduation. Hi, we've been reviewing candidates for our new program lead position. We came across some concerns that were recently brought to our attention. We're putting your application on hold while we look into it further. I froze. Concerns? I emailed back, politely asking for clarification. No reply for 3 days. Then I got the call. We received an anonymous tip claiming you exaggerated your involvement in the national conference speech and that parts of your project were plagiarized from a Columbia professor's older work. We take academic honesty seriously. My stomach dropped. It was complete garbage. Every word of it. I had citations. Email chains. Meeting notes. The entire project had been reviewed by the department before the conference. But someone had gone out of their way to sabotage me. And they were smart about it. Just enough to raise doubt. Not enough to get traced easily. Except it was traced. A week later, I got a quiet visit from Professor Klein, the department chair. She looked exhausted. I want you to know we're not pursuing anything against you, she said. We've reviewed everything. You're clean. But I need to tell you something privately. She handed me a printed document. It was a report from the university's IT department. An anonymous Gmail account had sent the tip to the startup. The account was created using a public computer in the continuing education lab. The same lab the transfer students used. The same lab Blake had access to. I felt sick. It all fit. He had waited. Bided his time. Pretended he wanted to change. Then when I didn't hand him a shortcut, he went behind my back. Professor Klein looked at me, her face heavy. We can't prove it was him beyond doubt. No direct login. But we flagged it. I thanked her, stood up, and walked straight out of that office. That night, I sat in my apartment, shaking. I had been holding back for years. Trying to be the bigger person. Letting the past go. Giving him a chance. But that was over. This wasn't high school anymore. This wasn't Sandra's house. He didn't get to insult me, mock me, and then try to ruin me in the real world. He wanted a war? He'd get one. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in the dark, heart pounding, replaying everything. His face at the conference. That fake apology. Him sitting in the back of those sessions like he was harmless. Like he didn't owe me more than a cheap excuse. He thought he could play me. Get close, fail upward, and then pull the same knife again. But I had learned something he never did. You don't come for someone who's already been underestimated their whole life. I didn't tell anyone what I was about to do. Not my professor, not my dad, not my friends. The next week, I emailed Professor Klein and offered to lead a special workshop on ethical data reporting and academic honesty for all the continuing ed students. I pitched it as proactive accountability. She agreed right away. I spent the next week building a presentation, not just about ethics, about digital footprints, metadata, email traybacks, IP address logs, how nothing is ever really anonymous. Then I added a slide, blacked out the sender info but left the wording exact from the tip email that had nearly wrecked my job offer. I titled the slide, The Anatomy of a Sabotage Attempt. The day of the workshop, I wore all black. Professional, sharp. No smiles. No small talk. The students filtered in. Blake sat in his usual spot. I didn't look at him. The first 30 minutes went smoothly. Tech integrity. Project sourcing. Then I got to the case study. I clicked the slide. This, I said calmly, is real. It was sent to a major company about a student speaker at a national conference. It falsely accused her of stealing work. It could have ruined her future. The university traced it back to one of the student labs. I paused. Let the silence stretch. In this case, the truth won. But not everyone gets that lucky. I let the words hang in the air. I didn't name him. I didn't need to. Blake looked pale. His fingers were clenched in his lap. He didn't speak. After the session, I packed up and left without looking back. 2 days later, he stopped showing up. Professor Klein said he had withdrawn from the mentorship program. No explanation. But I wasn't done yet. I took everything I had, every traceable record, every timestamped file, every email, and I wrote a short article. Changed the names. Focused on the broader theme. How marginalized students are targeted even at the top, how envy and ego drive sabotage. It got published in a well-known education blog. Went semi-viral. 2 weeks after that, the same startup that had paused my application reached out again. We're very sorry about the confusion. We'd love to schedule a second interview if you're still interested. And that wasn't all. One of the other attendees from the conference had seen the article. She worked for a national education nonprofit. She wanted me on a panel. Blake? The last I heard, he moved back to Ohio. No degree. No job offers. Just another guy who thought the world owed him something. And now? He watches me from behind a screen. But he doesn't get a second chance this time. A few months later, I walked across the stage at Columbia, diploma in hand. My dad came to graduation alone. Sandra didn't come. I didn't ask why. I didn't care. We went out to dinner after. A small place near campus. My dad raised his glass. I'm proud of you, he said. It was the first time I fully believed him. I was moving to DC the next week. The education nonprofit that read my article offered me a full-time role. Program lead. National outreach. Big platform. But I wasn't finished with Blake. Not yet. I didn't want to ruin him. Not in the way he tried to ruin me. But I wanted the truth to follow him. I wanted his failure to mean something. To hurt where it counted. I wrote one last thing. A follow-up to my article. I still didn't name him, but this time I told the full story. What it feels like when someone close to you, someone who shares your home, decides your success is a mistake. What it's like to carry those words silently into every room you walk into. It made the front page of a major education site. That same week, I got a message. Not from Blake. From Sandra. You've embarrassed this family. Blake's having a hard time. People in town are talking. I hope you're happy. I didn't respond. I didn't know her anything, but her message confirmed something important. They had seen it, felt it, the shame, the exposure, the weight of the truth when it finally lands. Blake lost more than a job lead. He lost his future, his reputation, his last excuse. And me? I kept going. But I won't pretend I didn't make mistakes too. I stayed quiet too long. Let them walk over me for years. Tried to be respectful. When what I needed was to stand up sooner. That's on me. But in the end, I got to tell my story. My way. On my stage. And he had to watch it all from the shadows. That's the thing about people like Blake. They think you're beneath them until you pass them. Then they call you lucky. But luck didn't get me here. Hard work did. Pain did. And a memory that never let me forget who I was fighting for.